Let's start over. So the question is, what do I think about the broader market and what things are doing and how things are moving? What is my outlook? So as I said earlier, my outlook is for the long term, pullbacks don't concern me for my buy and hold positions, right? For my investment positions. For my trading positions, I don't look at macro economics. I kind of pay attention a little bit just to position myself. Hey, could we have a momentary rally? Could we have a momentary pullback? That's just at high level that I think about it. But in general, I only look at the chart. So right now, the SPY, if we take the SPY as an indication of the broader market, what is the SPY doing? I always start with the monthly. And in my monthly, the latest swing low to high, we're coming down to a 38% retracement. And that seems to be holding, right? That's, for me, that's an area of support. Now, we've talked about, in preparation for today's session, we've talked about drawing support and resistance lines, right? So if we kind of draw them in different areas, if we draw them this way, right now, maybe here on a monthly is a support line. So this support line is what's holding. And I'm using the Fibonacci to kind of be a dynamic support and resistance, right? Kind of similar to that. So if I go to weekly, these lines will mean more, right? Because you get more touches with these lines. So they mean more. But on the monthly, I kind of guessed, and roughly that's what we're getting, right? So my guess was not that far off looking at the monthly. So that's why I always start at the monthly. What is the strong trend telling me? And because I use these dynamic support and resistance, I'm not going to be concerned about these lines. I highly recommend you keep these lines as you learn, because when many lines come together, it gives you more confidence of that turning point, right? So just keep those lines together. For me, it's just I've done this long enough that I can just rely on the Fibonacci. So that's what I do. So I don't really have a directional bias at any moment. I just let the chart tell me what it's doing right now. So based on what the chart is telling me, that's where I set my bias. Right now, the bias is to the downside, right? We keep making lower highs. So we are definitely biased to the downside, right? So when you go to your weekly, like from that monthly to the weekly, very clear. You have high, low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. Now we broke on a weekly basis a higher high than late May. Now I want to see this low hold if price is to resume to the upside. Until then, I'm going to assume this was just one of those fake higher highs, and the low is going to continue to break. Then I go to the daily, and the daily, same story, right? Lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high. Now we got some sort of a reversal right here on the daily, right? So remember, your monthly, your weekly, your daily all line up in the same direction, and then you want the hourly to line up in the opposite direction. So when it reverses, you take it in the direction of your bigger time frames, right? That's the goal. So if you put that thinking in place, you can say, you know what, even at the daily, I can say the monthly and the weekly are pointing down. I want the daily to go up for a little bit so that when it points down, I can enter a position that would be stronger, right, in the direction of the higher time frames. So of course, I don't put the trigger on the daily, but I can prepare for that daily and say, you know what, I want to see that this is that fake higher high in the weekly, right? That's this point here, which is higher high. That's that point that we see here. So is that holding? Again, that daily, if you had used the daily, we made that fake higher high, but then we make a low, which is higher low, which is beautiful. Then we make a lower low, that tells me, hey, you know what? I'm just going to take this to the downside. I'm just going to take it to the downside because I'm still making lower lows. The broader market has not fully recovered. Right? So that's what I want to look at. Now here, if we just use, if you zoom out too much, right? If you only look at this area, you could get trapped here to think, you know what, this is above the 38% retracement, I'm going to take it to the upside. You might be tempted to do that, right? If you're zooming out or zooming in too much. So you need to zoom out a little bit and see lower highs continuously. Yes, we're making a higher high. I want to see a strong higher low forming for me to resume that direction. Right, so this is just a refresher for that question. What is my overall market sentiment? I just let the charts tell me. And as I go down to the hourly, right, you can see continuously low high. This is that fake higher high. So it drove nicely. But then because we're pulling the trigger on the hourly, we get this high, lower high. From here on out is to the downside. From this point on is to the downside. Because we keep making lower high. Right? We're not able to sustain this. There was this very nice rally. We are no longer able to sustain it. So this is where you get your reversal, right? So 1, right? You got your 1 here. You have your 2, your 3, and then at the break of 2. But if you're very much biased to the downside, this is where you can start pulling the trigger sooner. Remember I said pull the trigger sooner. Instead of waiting for 2 to break and on the 1, 2, 3 reversal, we just say, hey, we see a 1 and we're going to use that previous low as our entry point, and we have an early entry. And this is a beautiful move, right? All this is a beautiful move. Even if you only take this 2 days move from 425 to 412, that's a beautiful move right there, even if you only do that. So now that we have this refresher, how do we then use the Fibonacci retracement to get our signals? So that's the lesson for today. I'm going to use Apple since I have no drawing on it, so I can show you how I start to think about this. And what is Fibonacci? First, let's talk about that. So Fibonacci is a sequence of numbers, right? So 5, 18, 13, 21. There's some retracement where you take 5 divided by 13, 5 divided by 21. Those numbers are where you get the 61.8, the 38.2, the 23.6% retracement. So it's all based on Fibonacci. The only thing that is not based on Fibonacci is where I do things for myself, like where I add stuff, but I add them deliberately for a purpose. So, for example, 70% is not a Fib number, but there's a lot of studies and evidence that show price has a tendency to reverse after a 70% pullback. If it goes beyond 70%, is most likely not going to turn back. It's going to continue that reversal direction, especially if it breaks 78.6. At that point, like, I'm not even considering re-entering. Here, at this point here, if it does this at 70%, here I will consider entering. If it does this, even if I see this, I'm very hesitant to enter. Extremely hesitant to enter. Because most of the time, you don't see this going up, you see this actually reversing. So I don't want to take that kind of a chance. So Now that you understand where the numbers come from, now how do we apply it to trading? How do we apply it? Right, let's focus on that. So price never moves in one direction, right? It moves up, it pulls back. It moves up, it pulls back. Or to the other side, it goes down, it rallies, it goes down, it rallies. What we want to capture always is, that's why we've done this 1 to 3 reversal, 1 to continuation, is being able to take advantage of those short-term pullbacks, short-term rallies. So when price is moving in one direction, when it pulls back, this is where I want to find an opportunity to enter. And how far does it pull back is what I want to consider. Right? The yellow line is my 50% line. I color coded so I know I don't even have to look at these numbers. Then green is 38.2 and 61.8, right? I kind of memorize these now. And then my reds are 23.6 and 78.6. Green to green is my sweet spot for entry. If price pulls back somewhere between green to green, I love it. Then when I see 2 consecutive green bars, for example, on the hourly, in that zone, I can be confident to enter to the long side. Even if you're just a monthly trader and you use this trading to enter stocks, not options, and you can say, look, monthly green to green pullback, and it could not hold that pullback because as soon as it went to 61.8, it pushed up, and the very next month it closed higher, right? You can take that entry and hold until you get some exit signal, even if you're doing stocks on a long-term basis, right? Like 5-6 months at a time. But this is really my main entry signal maker for me, is the Fibonacci. So where do I draw the Fibonacci? Is recent swing low to recent swing high. That's the swing I'm trying to capture, right? It made this swing. It is pulling back from that swing. Is it pulling back to an area of value? Area of value, if you recall, is where there could be some price action for me to pick up some positions, and my area of value is green to green, that zone green to green. So I take swing low to swing high. Any chart you take, you can take swing low to swing high, and you see those pullbacks, right? It went up, it pulled back to 38.2. That's all you could master to pull back, and then it continued to rally. Right? You can take the same line here. After that pullback, the next area, low to high, it pulled back to 38. It tried, but it formed a lower high. So when it tries, if you enter this position and then it forms a lower high, you better get out, right? Because it's telling you this time around, I'm not making it. This is all I can give you. I'm making a lower high, therefore I'm going to keep pushing down, right? So when that happens, you get out. Doesn't mean you're right 100% of the time, but you have your exit, right? You held this bar February 2022, even January 2022. It came as low as the 31.8. It reversed quickly, but then it never mastered to push higher. Right? This high was never broken. So you know, if you didn't get 2 consecutive green bars, so you should not have entered anyway. But if you are looking at the monthly, right? If you just look at this time frame, if this is what you pull the trigger time frame, you don't have 2 green bars, so you don't enter. Right? I'm just simplifying it by saying, hey, 2 green bars is what at an area of value I'm entering, right? So you don't enter that. So that's why this area of value for me is the green to green. It's a very, very sweet spot. And you'll see as you play with that Fibonacci, you'll see a lot of times this is a good zone where it comes, pulls back, and then it reverses course. So this, I'm just showing you the basics how it's drawn, and then I'll show you when I decide to draw it, because I look at the chart and I have to make a decision which swing high to which swing low do I use to draw my fib lines. Before I get there, any questions?
Yeah, my question was just like how to position that Fibonacci tracing, but I think you just flagged you'll get to that next.
Yeah.
Like where do you even start? Yeah.
Yeah. Man, any question from you? Okay. So just think of those lines, support resistance. That's what they're about, right? And it's an area of value. An area of value is where you enter, where you feel comfortable to pull the trigger. That's what we're going to use it for. So when I look at this chart, this swing low looks logical to me. This is where I will start. And if I go to the next swing high, right, what I'm going to show you now is, do I decide to stop here? Do I decide to stop here? Do I decide to stop here? Or do I move this here, here? That's what I'm going to go through right now, right? So I always start to an area where I think, okay, this is a good area to start with. And if price at any time in this swing has closed below 38.2, I say this is done. This move and this pullback is done. I need to look for a new swing area. So I don't just move it here, then this swing low becomes my starting point. This is my starting point. I go here. But notice here, price never closed below this line. So this anchor stays. But this guy now keeps moving as price makes higher high, keeps moving, but I still want to close below here for me to change this lower anchor. But so far, it still holds. If we make higher high, I still don't change it because we have not closed below 38.2. Right? So let me show you again one more time. If you look at this guy, this bar close, right, very much by the 38.2, close enough for me, right? So I just say, hey, this is close enough. I consider this done. Even if the close is not right below it, but that whole bar has gone significantly lower, right? So I just say I don't want to count on this, so I'm just going to take it to the next level here. Okay, so I wanted to repeat that before the question. What was the question?
No, I think you were right. I was just going to point out that I had done it on the next, not on this move, but you extend it all the way to the next peak.
Yeah, but you have to start here, right?
Yeah.
I don't know that this is 38.2, right? I can kind of guess, but I don't know, right? So I draw it. No, not yet. So this is where I'm right now. So for this chart, this is the most recent monthly fib that I have for this chart right now. So until things change, until I close below 38.2, or I have higher high, which I move just the top side, nothing else changes, right? This lower anchor stays for me. This is where I get started.
What about that date right there?
What day?
In
this one?
That day. A little bit before. The previous valley a little bit.
Here?
So it's right next to January, right before June. The June, yeah. Between 2021 January and June.
Here?
Right. Yeah.
But so here's my, at that point, right? This is all I see. If this is all I see, right? That's where I've drawn it. And then that never closed below. Never closed below 38.2.
But it didn't. What about that right there? That right before 2021.
This one?
Right next to that.
This one?
Yeah.
That was drawn from here. I don't look back, right? So so September 20, that pullback is above 38.2. So this doesn't count anymore if I move this. I want to see after this, I want to see a pullback from that high.
Okay.
Otherwise, what about this, right? Are you going to say, what about this value? Right? So it's
Okay.
after that recent swing, this is where I want that pullback. This is where I'm looking for an entry.
Okay.
And then you move it up. Right? Now I have my monthly. Now I want to see these lines as support or resistance for my entry. Okay, this is why I start at my monthly. This is why I have different kind of lines for each time frame. So I go to the weekly, and my weekly has said, hey, this is a swing that I have looked at on the weekly. Is there anything different on the weekly that I should be concerned with? Right? Not really. There's this area that looks like a consolidation, so I don't want to draw a Fibonacci just because I see a consolidation here. But as we go to the lower time frame, we might give us something. So when I go to the daily, now here's an interesting thing, right? So if you just zoom out for a moment, here's that whole move, right? That whole monthly move is this. But when you're looking at the daily, there's some sharp moves to the downside because we're making lower highs continuously. So if, for example, when I was here and I draw this, right, on the daily, of course, there's been closes above that 38.2, so I have to move it. Right? I have to move it to that. Again, there's a close above it, so I keep moving it. Right? I keep moving it. This was completely a reversal. Right? From here, it was a complete reversal. But then it collapsed again, so now this is the area that I'm interested in. Nothing closed above 38.2, right? Here it closed above 38.2, this bar here. So then I can just look at, I just keep moving, right? I just keep moving this. It's going to take some practice. Nothing closed above, so I move this here. Here it closed above, so now I have to move it again. I'm moving kind of fast, but we'll go back, and I just want you to understand how I'm not staying on the drawing, right? If I see a close, I just keep moving it. But here again, it closed above, and now you have a higher low, so there's nothing to the downside to look at. Now what you have is the daily now is not in the same direction as the monthly. So do we look at this for an entry possibility? First, let's look at this. You see this here? When you look at this, this has closed below the 38.2. That's why I'm drawing this one here, this latest swing. And this is not holding 38, is not holding 50 so far. So there's no entry, right? So you're waiting patiently. Is it holding 61.8? Is it holding 70? To reverse that monthly. Is that monthly going to go back higher? Because it's still lower high on a monthly. It's just the daily, momentarily, it seemed like it wanted to push up. But that push up now, you're not getting any confidence that it's holding. No confidence at all. It's pushing through. It seemed like it wanted to hold at 50, but it only held there for just a few hours today. It just keeps collapsing. So until you get a good signal, right, on your hourly, this is you pull the trigger, when you come to the 31.8, you don't really have two consecutive green bars, right? This is a weak. This bar here is a very weak green bar. You don't have a good signal to say, hey, I'm going to take this. At the 50, you might say, you know what? I have two. You have a pin bar. I have this bar. I can take it. 157.50 to 160. Short-lived, because this is acting now as a resistance. Remember, this is both support and resistance. So it's acting as a resistance, short-lived. So that's why they're good lines. But you need to get a strong signal, right? Let's not focus on entry points yet. Let's focus on understanding what the Fibonacci lines are. I want you to practice drawing them. And then we'll talk about, okay, now how do I get an entry out of this, right? What's the signal? Because this is now will give you that early signal. This you don't have to wait for 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3 gave you the concept, right? Gave you the concept. This is where the 1, 2, 3 is actually, right? This swing low from, you know, you have, this is your 1, this is your 2, this is your 3. That's where you're drawing this Fibonacci, by the way, is your 1, 2, 3. Every latest 1, 2, 3, that's where you draw it. Is it making sense?
I'm not fully grasping it yet. I think I might need a few more.
Yeah, but let's so we can pick anything. So are you understanding that this is your zigzag, right?
Yeah. But can we like look at maybe just like one time period at a time? I think I'm getting confused when we're switching between like the daily, the monthly, like how the various Fibonacci's in the different time periods like are related.
Okay.
So we focus on just like the concept behind like if we just look at, you know, like the daily or monthly or just like one area and then progress from there.
Yeah, but basically what I was going through the different time frames is the same concept, right? Nothing changes. The way you draw it, nothing changes, right? So you draw your zigzag, your 1, 2, 3. So here's your 1. That's the bottom of your Fibonacci, right? Here's your 1. Here's your 2. That's the top of your Fibonacci.
Does it have to be like that? Why couldn't you draw the 2 at right after July? There's a little peak there.
Here?
Almost $4. Yeah.
It is true, but when you draw it here, okay, so very good question. Let's start. This is 1, this is 2, exactly right? That's why we did this exercise. However, price did not close below 31.8. Right?
Doesn't it have close above before we move it? Or below before we move it? Was it?
Yeah, so it did not close. No. If it doesn't close below, the bottom anchor stays.
Okay, yeah.
Then the top one, as price gives you new highs, you just keep moving it to the new highs. This is how you draw it. You keep one anchor stays, you keep moving it to the new high. Until, yeah?
If the bottom doesn't close below 38.2, then the bottom anchor stays, but you keep moving up.
Yes.
So what's the other way around? When do you move the bottom?
Okay, so let's show you an example. So let's delete this, right? Just to simplify. So when you're going down, right? So nothing closes, right? So you're gonna keep. So until this point here, right? Are we clear? When you have this low, price did not close above. On the way down is closed above, on the way up is closed below, right? So you just reverse that. But so price did not close above 31.8. So the lower anchor stays, right? The starting anchor stays, and you just keep moving the destination anchor. At this point here, this bar closes above 38.2. You see this May 4th bar?
Yeah.
It closes above 38.2. Now this guy has to move. Where does this move? It moves the latest swing high. And now you keep moving this one to the swing low until that condition is met. So here, I think if I do this, it will help you. So when you see this, until we breach 38.2, this anchor stays, right? So we're only going to move this anchor. So if we move it's moving too slow. Okay, so here, as you can see, this is not broken, but this guy did not close above 38.2, right? So therefore this still stays. Nothing changes. This stays because we haven't made a lower point yet, so we just go and wait. Now we're making lower, so we want to wait until it gives you a swing point. Yeah, right here. Right here, now this guy moves to the next low. Now we're waiting. Are we going to break this to move this? Or are we maintaining this to move this, right? So that's all we're doing. One at a time. So one bar at a time, because that's all you're looking at in your trading day. Boom, you can see we close above 38.2. Now we know this guy is moving. We don't know where yet because we don't have a significant swing point to anchor from, right? So all we know is this is no longer a valid starting point. So we're waiting to see, as soon as price gives us a pullback, that's where we're going to move it, right? So you can say this is your pullback. I'm moving this here, but I don't know where this guy is going to go. I don't know yet because I don't have a low swing to anchor from. All right?
Okay. So then when's your condition then?
What condition?
Your sweet spot where you would target an entry.
So let's not worry about entry. Let's not worry about entry. Because that is going to, I think that's where I kind of confused you earlier, is talking about that sweet spot and stuff. Let's just practice on how we draw the Fibonacci. I apologize for that because I think that's where the confusion is coming. So let's just, once we understand where the support and resistance is, next step we can talk about, okay, here's why this is a sweet spot and here's how we take that entry. Okay. So this guy now can move to the next swing low because, we have a swing low, but this is not moving yet, right? So far no condition has been met. Now price has closed above it. I know it's moving, I don't know where yet, right? Every bar I just wait for price to tell me, okay, so now I know this guy is moving here. Here's my latest swing, but I don't know to where. And I normally, when I see this, normally this is what I have. I just wait. No drawing, I just wait. Because now, as you can see, there's no significant area to the downside. It's actually looking like it wants to reverse.
Yeah. Okay, so you're still keeping in mind in the back of your head a reversal, a continuous or reversal.
Yes, yes, exactly. Is it a continuation or a reversal? Right here, it could be a reversal. It could be, this could be my one, right? And I'm waiting for, this is, it's okay, but not really clean for me. So it could be a 1 and a 2 forming. You could technically say this is 2. That's fine. If that's what you think, then you go from here to here, the 38.2 did not get breached, so you move it to the next swing high. 38.2 did not get breached.
Didn't it get briefed right there?
Where? Here's the 38.2 is here. Here's your highest point.
Oh yeah, you're right.
To the right of that.
Yeah, to the right.
Yes, to the right of that. Right. So now, you see, it just kept going up. It has very small pullbacks, very, very shallow pullbacks. And it just keeps going back up. So you keep moving it. Now I know this is breached, right? So this line is no longer valid. So I am removing it. And now I'm seeing a lower high. So I'm seeing most likely to the downside is where I want to draw. So here's where I sit right now. So two things. Now just practice when you move that drawing up and down, right? So just practice that. That's why I removed it for you. However, we know the latest is this, right? This is the latest because we don't know where to draw the next one, right? So we just are waiting. That means there could still be a reversal anywhere in between here. That's why this stays. This stays until the drawing shows me where I can draw, is that to the upside or to the downside. So what you're trying to find is in any time frame, you're 1, 2, 3, and you're drawing that Fibonacci between 1 and 2. Right? On the reversals 1, 2, 3, on the continuation 1, 2, you're just drawing them there. That's all you're doing. Like on the continuation, here's your 1, right? So if you're doing this, here's your 1, and you're entering when you break this low, right? So that's what you're looking for. So you just, but you're not drawing it from this swing low. You're drawing it from here because you're on a continuation. Right? You're continuing to go down. So this guy just keeps going down with you. Yeah.
And then as soon as it reverses you, then it no longer applies, right?
Yeah, as soon as it breaches this line, this is where you say, I'm going to draw a new one. Right? It's either a new one as a continuation, or it's, in this instance, it was no longer a continuation, now it's a reversal. Yeah. So on a reversal, you draw it between 1 and 2, whichever, but that 2 just keeps moving up. On a continuation, once you have your 1, your 2, you start from your 2, but you draw it to the next swing low. Right? You're always trying to find swing high to swing low, and it's price reversing in the direction you want it to reverse. It's a bit confusing, but once you understand how to draw it, then you know it's all about support and resistance. That's what you're using it for, support and resistance. Have I confused you enough?
I think that's good. So then high level within those two green lines, like if those two are support and resistance, then you'll assess like breakouts using that, kind of tying it back a bit earlier.
Yeah, this is what I say. Okay, if it comes here, does it have a chance to go back to the upside? Do I see enough signal in my chart to tell me take it to the upside, or is it going to collapse? I'll tell you one thing. That's why I look at the broader market. If the overall market is showing weakness, right, lower high, lower high on a monthly, I am not in a hurry to enter to the long side. I'm going to be biased to the downside. So when I come to my daily, for example, I'm not looking to enter long here. I'm looking for this to actually collapse so I can enter to the downside. Right? I'm looking at, are there any other indications that I'm looking at? I will get into this, right? This is how we're going to keep building to area of value. This is an area of value for me. This is what I call a supply zone. And price touch that supply zone. It's lower high from here to here, right? So when you're looking at monthly in this supply zone, here's lower high. It's exactly that lower high. On a daily, it doesn't look like a lower high because we're seeing some higher highs, right? On a daily, it doesn't appear that way. That's why last week I said you have to start at the higher time frame, because the higher time frame dictates the overall direction. Yes, the lower time frame will turn first, but the higher time frame dictates. So I see lower high, therefore I'm not really looking for a reversal for this swing to continue. Price touches here and it pulls back but doesn't make a new higher high. I know this was a strong resistance area, right? So that's why I'm taking a put position from here. And look at this, right? So I took a put position in TQQ for same reason, because I could not break as high as this, right? It's lower high. It's, even though it's higher than this, but overall it's lower high. And if you look at monthly, it's clearer, right? It's high, lower high, lower high. It's very clear when you look at it at that higher time frame to be able to say, you know what, I'm pulling the trigger right here. Here's my entry. Right, 32 is actually where my entry is. So you have to look for that, and your Fibonacci lines, just use whatever comes out of the box right now. I don't even remember what those numbers are anymore. But not this one. Yeah, we should go to style. 38.2 and 61.8, 50%. So this top 1, 2, 3, this 4 here and this 3 here you want. The others are target areas, so we'll talk about those later. But for now, just practice between 0 and 1, right? Those are the ones you want. 0, 0.236, 0.382, 0.5, 0.618, 0.786, and 1. I think you'll see that in your chart now, right?
I don't see it. Can I share my screen real quick?
Yeah. Do you go to style?
Yeah, go to Fox and then here. Let me quickly make sure I know how to do it before we end. Do you see my screen?
No, I see the other one.
Which one?
I see us, right? I see the Teams screen. Just bring your chart to the screen you're on right now.
Do you see it now?
Yeah.
Yeah. I went to this little box here.
No.
It's on the left hand side.
Yeah, it's on the left hand side.
See those like 4 bars next to the
All the way to the left. Yeah, that's
that one.
that one.
That one.
This one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's it. You can use that will pull it up.
Okay. Okay.
And then now go to the gear. Now to the right above your drawing. There's a gear. No, not that one.
That here?
No, I wanna where you drew your fib, the top of your fib.
Oh.
That's yep. So you see the 0.386.618, 1.236. So you see what the ones that I want you to see. You can uncheck the rest if you want, but not. It's okay if you have them.
Okay. So just keep these 3 like
Between 0 and 1. All the ones between 0 and 1. Those 4 on the left side and the 3 on the right side. Yeah. Yeah.
So if we look at this one right now, the way, then you have to move it up, right? Because it closed below.
Where do you move it to? You don't know yet, right? That's why it stays there until you have a new anchor.
So on the right hand side, like that big red bar, the long red bar,
Yeah.
wouldn't you move it there?
No, he's drawing it to the upside now. The way you want to do it is to the downside. So, Nabiyu, all the time, you if you're going down, you start from the top and draw it down.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, delete that one. Yeah. Yeah, and then draw it down. Because you want to see that first one that you see as a retracement is 23.6. If you don't draw it this way, the 23.6 is at the top, and that's not what you're looking for.
I see. Okay. Zero always on the bottom and then 1 on the top.
Yes. That means you're retracing 100%, right? When you come back to 1, you are retracing 100%.
Yeah.
So, Manny, to answer your question, the first one that he drew, it got broken. You're right, right?
Yeah.
We breached 38.2. However, we don't have a new anchor point. So the other way, yeah. So
delete it.
Yeah, delete it. Remember, you only move in the same direction, not opposite directions. If you're going in opposite direction, you have to redraw it.
Yeah. Because the first one was going higher, the second was going lower.
Yeah, so delete that one. Yeah, so draw from the, yeah, that one, draw it all the way up. Click the gear, please.
What's that?
Click the gear. I'll show you something. Extend right. Right above 0. Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So here, 38.2 is breached. 100% agree. However, you like to continue to the upside, you don't have a new swing low and swing high to draw from. Right? Assuming the latest low is the low point, but you don't have your next swing high.
So you don't know what to draw. Yeah.
You don't know what to draw. That's why you leave this intact
until you see the upward.
Until you see that upward, or you decide it has reversed. I'm gonna draw the other side. Right? That's a decision you have to make.
But going back to the 1, 2, 3s, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's all those 1, 2, 3s and 1, 2s.
Yeah, you have a 1, 2, you just don't have the 3, right?
So this is reversal, right? So you have your 1, 2. Potentially you have your 2, but it could keep going down. So you don't really have the 2 yet. You have 1 for sure. You don't know where that 2 is.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
for your 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because this is a case of reversal, right? It's not a continuation. Yeah.
I know we're almost out of time. Can I share my screen real quick?
Yeah. Go ahead.